Hello, everyone. Welcome to another show here. I've been thinking about this idea of even and odd number collections of notes recently, and I've really been thinking about it for a long time. And I've tried to express some of the benefits of just thinking about taking an octave and dividing it up in different numbers and kind of seeing what you come up with. So let's start out today by playing a little bit, and then I'm going to dive into some of the benefits of thinking in terms of even numbers and odd numbers as well. But we're going to start out here. I've set up things a little bit differently, so I'm hoping everything will go to plan here. And I also filled it with a few things as we went. So see how things go. Hopefully the levels are right and everything. All right, so I'll do a little playing on Days of Wine and Roses. And take it from there. on. So let's get on with this kind of concept or thought, and think about the theory and all of that for this. Okay. So another approach that you could take to work with scales and arpeggios, triads, all sorts of things, is to take an octave and see if you can divide it up into different numbers. Okay. So if you were to take the octave and let's say have a we'll count the C as one note, right? And then we'll say, okay, what if we just kind of cut it half there? Right, so we get this interval kind of at the halfway mark between. All right, and then you could, so that's two notes, so that would be an even number, but you could divide it in different ways, right? So this is a great way to just practice intervals, right? Okay, and so taking that, so that would be an even number, and there are a lot of really kind of cool things that you can do. You could with just that whole concept. So you could really think about interval. See, a series of intervals. Let's say. So you say something like, okay, I'm gonna have a half step, minor third, whole step, right? So and then you end up, let's see, with 4 notes, so 3 intervals, including the starting note. But you could take that same thing and say, okay, well, any direction we'll do that. So you go down a half, up a minor third, down a whole, or down a half step, up a minor third, up a whole. So we're just kind of keeping that same sequence of intervals. So that's thinking in terms of 2 notes, and so that is a whole. What I'm talking about there is really kind of just the whole topic in and of itself. But okay, but let's say you have an even number and you're trying to divide the octave up. So that's where you get these sort of triads, right? Major triad, minor triad, diminished triad, augmented triad. Maybe more of the sus sort of sounds, or really anything that has 3 notes. So we don't have to limit ourselves to that. But it's nice to find the possibility of maybe dividing it up somewhat evenly as a starting point. So triads have a really recognizable sound. It's very open. And if you're playing 3 notes and you have an odd number, and then you might have be able to kind of swap things around, so in time. So you have like 1 and 2, okay, and 3 and, right? So, and then things kind of sort of right themselves every 6. So, and you can check this out with your picking combinations, right? So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay. So when we talk about theory, and this is falling under our theory and fingerboard kind of talk. When we talk about theory, um, we often discuss things that are in odd numbers as far as notes and harmony and theory in those terms. But four note patterns or even collections of notes are really very valuable in improvisation and jazz. So the next step is four notes, dividing the octave up in four ways. And so this can cover any chord, right? Major 7, minor major 7, minor 7, minor 6, minor 7 flat 5, fully diminished. Any chord you can think of. So, and you can get into, of course, maybe flat 5, dominant 7. So many things. I'm not gonna go on and on, but what's good about four notes is that if you play continuous eighth notes and the chords change, maybe every 2 beats, then you have a good way of outlining and working through changes because the numbers just kind of work out. So if you're trying to fit 5 notes in, just by the math within 2 beats, you're gonna need a triplet and 2 eighth notes, for example, or you could divide it up 5 ways. But anyway, that you get the kind of the idea. Now this is where we talk about these melodic structures, which is kind of like having a triad with a add 9. Okay, so there's that, and then there's a lot of applications for that, and then you kind of string those together. And then we also have the minor melodic structure, which we've talked about, and then alterations to really both of those things. And I have some older talks where I really went through a lot of different alterations and combinations and things like that. But so there's a lot there to explore. But that's a very effective way to practice and internalize, so that you can negotiate changes, especially more challenging changes that may arise. All right, so we talked about 2 notes, 3 notes, 4 notes. Let's take a little break and play a little bit on a tune. Let's do our Latin tune. Although I did set up a Latin backing track for Days of Wine and Roses as well. But let's work on, make sure I'm finding the right thing here. Let's work on Atrás de Porta. Didn't actually mean to play that, but there we go. Okay, and I'm going to switch over the screen here so you can see a little closer what I'm doing. And we'll adjust the tempo. A little bit of a ballad. And we'll check in with the, found a setting that I wasn't aware of before. In this drum VST, which is super helpful. So I can kind of pull up these different songs and tracks, just kind of within the VST, which is super, super helpful. So hopefully all this works, and probably won't repeat, but see if I can get to the right part of the tune. I'm going to be reading this down here. All right, well, here we go. Hopefully the mix is good and everything. All right, so back to our talk. A couple of things. So I'm playing there. So on that F sharp sus, I play this kind of sound. Then you can play. So that's kind of a triad, but sus suspended. Okay, and then maybe opening it up. Now, one of the goals on this, this whole idea of practicing this way and thinking this way, is to connect lines and connect certain harmonies, right? So you have, what are the options on that? So maybe a melodic structure on the E minor 7, so G, like that. And then where do you end up and how does that connect to the next chord? So let's say C sharp, minor 7 flat 5, right? So so you can use multiple of those melodic structures, or maybe use a melodic structure and then move to more of a triad. sort of sound, right? So being able to, say move. So that's an E minor chord. I'm playing G, melodic structure, okay, and then let's say C sharp, I have diminished. Right, this is just the triad part of that. Okay. So wherever you end up, you can make a connection to how the next harmony changes, and then make a decision on how you want to kind of either kind of continue the line, or you can think in terms of coloring that vertically, and that chord. All right, so let's go on. We have 4 notes. Now we could talk maybe about 5 notes. So let's say we have C, right? We have really a lot of things that we can do with that. We can play a major pentatonic or a dominant pentatonic kind of sound. We can start altering the dominant pentatonic, maybe a flat 9, maybe a sharp 5. And here we can think a lot again about how it connects to chords, right? So if you have a major type chord, let's say major 7, check some of the levels, make sure I didn't clip or anything. Okay. So the major pentatonic would really fit that well. But we can also think in terms of 4 notes and then add another tone. So we can just say, okay, C major 7 arpeggio, and then maybe place a 9 in there as well, right? And these are really interesting shapes on guitar because you get a lot of 2-note combinations. That guitar seems to lend itself well to that sort of thing. So. Right. So, and once you get into that the shapes get maybe a little more difficult to work with, but or maybe difficult. It's not the right word, or maybe less familiar, but some of these familiar shapes also work very well. So minor pentatonic, obviously. Minor 6 pentatonic, which is related to that dominant pentatonic. It's another good shape. And then really good solutions also for minor 7 flat 5. So take a minor pentatonic and lower the 5th. You get something that fits that pretty well. Okay. And even, maybe diminished type things as well, which dominant pentatonic will work on, and so maybe something like this. So 5 tones, and a lot of things that you can come up with 5 tones. And you might even try doing this on 1 string, right? And trying to divide it up somewhat evenly. It's a little bit like park benches where folks kind of naturally spread themselves out in different distances, and unless people know each other well, they don't necessarily come together. So let's say we're talking about like a public park, barely anyone knows one another. Usually pretty spread out. Same thing with our notes in the octave. So we wouldn't necessarily maybe go, although you could. But so with pentatonics, you could select out 4 notes too. So you could still make it work within the 4-note framework. So you could play, And so collectively you're working with 5 notes, but you're doing 4 at a time, something like that. Or you could do 3 at a time. So that's a really useful scale too. And that fits into what you hear a lot about, which is triads, pentatonic scales. So let's talk about these hexatonic scales, which we had to talk about a little bit. I've been exploring that a little bit more recently. So a couple of approaches to that. You could take a pentatonic scale, let's say a pentatonic scale, and then add 1 note within it. So again, the advantages of using even numbered scales is that you're gonna end up filling out the 8th notes, and they won't get flipped over when you repeat the scale. So, and also your core tones can land, well, depending on what you want, but can land consistently on the beats, right? So if you have a C, say a C6 chord or something, you have C, E, another chord tone, G, then kind of back to the C. So let's say even just C major triad. Let's say that. So yes, C. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So notice that I'm landing on the notes of the triad on the beats. So that is an important element of control that you can develop, so you can outline changes, but still you're playing kind of stepwise motion. Aside from that, we have pairs of triads. Right? So you can separate them out and work with them like that. Now triads too, you could take and play 4 notes, right, and repeat one of the notes over again. Or you can work in, rather than going a full octave, you can, maybe repeat a middle tone like that. Something like that. So you can take the odd numbers and work them out. But this would be an interesting practice concept to use, maybe 6 note type scales on like a waltz or something, and just kind of see how that fits in and how that works. Okay. So let's talk quickly about 7 note scales. So again, just kind of filling things in. This is kind of very important part of kind of the traditional music theory and all that. So again, we have an odd number. We have 7 notes. So if you were to play a line, you would end up at some point, depending on where you start in the scale, you would end up playing, if you're doing continuous 8th notes, you would end up playing on more of the dissonances sometimes, and then more of the consonances at other times, which is fine. But as far as controlling the harmony, it may make things challenging in that respect. But here we have four basic types of scales I would say want to have a good handle on. Those are C major, all of its modes, and then harmonic major and its modes. Okay, and then let's see, minor. So let's say melodic minor and harmonic minor. Okay, so really just those four. So major scale, harmonic major, harmonic minor, melodic minor. All right, so let's do a little playing break here, and so maybe I'll play Days of Wine and Roses. It's more of a Latin tune feel. And so I'm making some efforts to have these different time feels and different sort of things. So hopefully that is coming across okay. All right, so we'll start with this. Let's see what our tempo is. Kind of medium here. How about that? So you can check this out, this video on the member area, youtube.com/fretprints, or check out fretprints.com. And members will see video edition of this live stream. Okay, everybody. So we'll go through just a couple more things and then we'll kind of wrap up here. But 7-note scales, and then we have bebop scales. And again, kind of just adding a note really each time we bump up through one of these. So we have this octave here. We take a major scale and then kind of connect through one of those notes. So let's say you're working. It kind of depends on what chord you're working with. So say you have a C major, so you might have. And notice what happens when you connect the 6 and the 5, right? So we get these kind of consonant tones on the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So those are the beat numbers. And notice we have root, 6, 5, 3, 1. Right? So it's kind of spelling out if we just kind of isolated the notes on the beats. So I get a kind of a C6 chord, which is fairly consonant. Same kind of thing for minor. There's a few ways of handling this, but let's say you have. Okay, so that's sort of the same approach, right? With 6 going down like that, right? Or let's say flat 7. Right. Dominant 7. Something a little bit different. We take, since we have the flat 7, take the half step between the root and the flat 7. So, and then you can do any sort of alteration on it as well. Predominant type chords as well, or even if it's minor. So we have, or you could have minor 7 flat 5. Like that. All right, so if those are 8s, now you can kind of continue going, really. You start to fill it up really kind of until you get to 12 notes. So say 9 notes, 10 notes are, I'd like to go into that a little bit. It doesn't look like we're gonna have time for today, but it is actually kind of pretty interesting, sort of tied into the bebop. So you just get more chromaticism, all that. But let's see, we need to wrap up here for today. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Maybe I'll play a little bit. One more tune. So this will be Blues for Alice. Let's see what I've got here. All right, so I think I set something up. So play through it. So do a little more playing, and again, if you like this, talk and listening to this on the podcast, I'm sure to check out Video Edition in the member area. All right, so kind of fiddling with settings, which is always kind of dangerous, but let's see how this goes here. All right, a little bit of a false start there. Sorry about that. Take it a little bit up. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for checking out this video, this live stream. Thanks to those members, the member area. We have a good group of folks going now. I really appreciate your support of the channel, and I hope you're getting a lot out of this as well. I will see everybody in the next one.